Hello, I Dr. Vinita, and today's our topic on elbow arthroplasty or total elbow replacement. And in this topic, we study the rehabilitation part, or more emphasis on the rehabilitation part, and advance or some articles we discuss here, and the evaluations part, assessment and evaluation part. Okay, in history, according to history, there is more evolution of surgical approaches. Okay, and post operative treatment. So uh, we have to change our treatment according to the surgery or according to the prosthetics. Okay, if the orthopedicians are evolved in their treatment, or the prosthetics evolve in the prosthetics, and we should have to evolve in the rehabilitation part also. So according to that, we plan our treatment or rehabilitation process. The elbow arthroplasty is given by the Sean Emers and Oscar MD, Charles Janzers MD. They define the total elbow arthroplasty is a procedure that replaces the ulnohumeral articulation with a prosthetic device. Okay, the primary goal of this is to total elbow arthroplasty is to provide pain relief from a variety of conditions that result in destruction of the native ulnohumeral joint, causing pain and dysfunction refractory to conservative measurements. A wide variety of conditions can cause destructions of the native joint, including but not limited to, like the indications for the elbow arthroplasty is like the osteoarthritis, inflammatory arthritis, septic arthritis, post-traumatic arthritis, acute fractures, depending on the chronic and etiology of the disruption of the native joint. The surrounding soft tissue and motion are affected in a variety of ways. Pain or mechanical, block to motion such as contractures, osteophytes may limit the native joint from normal arc of motion that may or may not be corrected at the time of surgery. Certain acute fractures, especially in the elderly population, are treated with total elbow arthroplasty. This is given by Cobb in 1997 and Mickey in 2009. Here are some pictures you see. When you see the X-ray of the patient, you see some changes in the bone. Okay, here you see there is arthritis. Okay, and you see the changes. Here also some x-rays, and here this is the implant picture after implantation. X-ray look like this. Okay, before we proceed to the treatment, we see that what are the indications for total elbow arthroplasty. Okay, first is pain, instability, and bilateral ankylosis, such as in patient with advanced stage 3 or 4 rheumatoid arthritis. Okay, RA, and fail interpositional or anatomic arthroplasty, interpositional and anatomic failed arthroplasty, failed prosthetic arthroplasty, failed prosthetic arthroplasty, then arthrodesis, arthrodesis, is the indication after a block resection from the tumor blockage, okay, and the rheumatoid arthrosis, in which synostomy and radial head excision have failed. Then we proceed to the next part, which is also important part. What are the contraindications? Okay, contraindication like active infection, and the absent flexures or fail elbow, motor paralysis. Next is the inadequate posterior skin quality. Okay, inadequate posterior skin quality. My writing is so poor in this, but in real my writing is not that bad. Inadequate bone stock or ligamentous instability with resurfacing implants and the neurotrophic joints. These all are the indication and the contraindications. The elbow prostheses are classified as semi-constrained. The classification of the prosthesis semi-constrained, okay, which is loose hinge or sloping hinge. Okay, second is the non-constrained, which is minimally constrained. Then is the full constrained. These are fully constrained prostheses are no longer used because of their unacceptable failure rate. Okay, the rehabilitation implant selection is based on specific need of the patient and the surgeon preference. Each surgeon has different preference in type of implant, surgical technique and post-operative treatment. The treatment therapist must establish a good communication with the operating physician and be familiar with the post-operative protocol. Before treating this condition, it is recommended that the therapist observe the surgical procedure in person when possible. Okay, if possible, you have to go to OT with your orthopedician. Okay, and if you are not going, then you have to assess by their medical file. Okay, the therapist also must be familiar with the phases of wound healing when approaching a total elbow replacement because treatment proceeds according to these three stages. Okay, first, the assessment and initial evaluation. When possible, a pre-operative evaluation and the education session is most beneficial, especially for the elderly population. In many hospitals, they do this before like patient is going for arthroplasty or any surgical procedure. First physio session, prior physio session is very helpful, because in that session you can teach the patient plenty of things. Okay, and after that session, after evaluation, or after assessment, you start your treatment. In phase 1, the inflammatory, or that we can say is the protective phase. Okay, after surgery patient will come, and the first phase is the inflammatory, and we can say the protective phase. What you can do in this phase? The first phase of wound healing, the inflammatory or protective phase, lasts approximately 10 days post-operatively. During this time, therapy should be focused on providing proper protective immobilization. Protective immobilization, like facilitating the wound healing and control edema. Okay, control edema and decreasing inflammation. Maintain proximal and distal joint range of motion and initiating controlled passive range of motion. Post-operatively, the surgeon placed the patient's arm in a bulky dressing and a half plaster splint with the elbow immobilized at 40 to 60 degree. The wound 40 to 60 degree. My art is also very good. This is your elbow joint, okay, and swelling area, and this is 40 to 60 degree elbow flexion. The wound may be surgically closed with staples or sutures. These are generally removed 2 weeks after surgery and replaced with a statistics, and drainage line may be left for 20 to 48 hours. On post-operatively, day 2 to 3, patient is referred for therapy. The bulky dressing is removed in therapy. A sterile non-adherent dressing is applied, and bulk is kept at minimum to ensure a close, precise fit in the splint. Okay, some experienced physio who are watching, or like MPT students, they feel that ma'am is doing like 0 to A to Z work, but this is important for BPT students who having clinical postings, or after intern they are going to treat the patient or to see the patient, so that in their mind already some images, like if they are seeing an inflammatory phase patient, then maybe my video is very helpful for them. The bulky dressing is removed in therapy. Okay, a sterile or non-adherent dressing is applied. Bulk is kept at a minimum to ensure a close and precise fit in the splint. At this point, the wound should be assessed for color, temperature, okay, and the drainage, and the tissue integrity. These 4 things you have to assess. Then excessive drainage, delayed healing, infection, require prolonged immobilization. If any of the above factors are present, an anterior splint is indicated to avoid pressure over the wound. Okay. Then we proceed our second phase, which is the splinting phase. Second phase is the splinting phase. In this, patient is provided with an immobilization splint or brace on the first post-operative visit. Several options are available based on the preference of the surgeon, the demand of the patient, and the experience of the therapist. Many surgeons prefer the Bledsoe braces. Okay. At the hospital for special surgery, the prosthetics department provide and fits and the patient with the brace. Okay. The brace provide medial and lateral stability while allowing flexion extension of the elbow. The parameters of the Bledsoe brace are preset to limit and range in both flexion and extension. Extension is set to tolerance, okay, and the flexion is determined by the condition of the tricep muscle. Surgical repair. A disadvantage of this brace is that there is no posterior protection should the patient fall or any. A thermoplastic posterior protective insert may be added. Okay. And protective range of motion exercise are initiated with the brace 2 to 3 weeks. Or posterior elbow immobilization splint. Some surgeons are doing Bledsoe braces and some surgeon giving the simple splints. Okay. And bandages. Many surgeons prefer no splint at all. The arm instead wrapped lightly in an ace bandage and positioning in a sling, and the approach encourages early functional use and comfortable and well tolerated. The rationale is that pain and postural edema will limit the hand range of motion. Okay. Bledsoe braces. Okay. Few orthopedicians. Not all. Okay. Simple splinting they use. The basic principle of edema control are applied during this phase, and patients are instructed in proper positioning for like night and day, eyes elevation, and the retrograde massage and manual edema mobilization. Light wrapping can be used at the discretion of the therapist. Okay. And strong elastic bandages that are very compressive, and they are contraindicated because this cause increase in swelling to the proximally and the distally. Okay. Protective mobilization at the elbow begin on the second postoperative day. Objective range of motion measure are taken at the elbow and forearm. Okay. Active assisted. Then the phase, we proceed to the phase second. We complete the inflammatory phase. Now phase second, which is the fibroplasia. The phase second of therapy corresponds to the second phase of wound healing. The fibroblastic phase, which begin at about 5 days of the surgery, and this phase lasts approximately 4 weeks. Okay. The focus during this phase is to increase active and passive elbow range of motion. Active, passive range of motion. And control the scar formation, isolate triceps muscle contractions, and encourage the functional use of extremity, proximal strengthening of the scapula, shoulder muscles, and postural re-education are addressed as well. Range of motion limitation are addressed according to the need of each patient. Some patient may have full functional range of motion in early phase of treatment, whereas other require a frequent or prolonged therapy to regain the motion. In the moist heat may be applied before exercise, and co-contraction of the biceps muscle often present a problem. Massage to the bicep muscle belly after application of heat is helpful in inhibiting co-contraction exercises are continued from the previous phase and are upgraded to gradually increase the active elbow flexion beyond 90 degree. Okay, and the most important part, like pulley exercises, and avoid, like early use of pulley exercise should be avoided because the joint may not be stable enough to withstand the traction forces. Okay, and scar management is initiated once the incision is dry and closed and the strips are have fallen off. A silicone insert or autofoam mold is provided for night, used to apply directly over the scar. The triceps tendon insertion is common site for adhesions. Okay, various techniques are described in the literature for the surgical reattachment of the triceps muscle to the olecranon. Like Brennan and Murray describe a triceps sparing approach that has been widely used. This technique was developed to avoid complications such as triceps avulsion and triceps weakness. Here you see triceps sparing, Brennan-Murray approach. Okay, this technique was developed to avoid the complications such as triceps avulsion, triceps weakness, and wound healing problem. And like more recently, the Hayden described a triceps preserving method that allow for early aggressive rehabilitation, less protection. Adhesion may be developed at the tricep tendon insertion site, which may limit active extension at the elbow, and soft tissue mobilization, cross friction massage or insertion at the insertion site. This is the triceps approach, sparing approach given by Murray. Approach started medially, reflecting the triceps of olecranon. Okay, you see here the full surgical procedure, and the anconius reflected with the flap as it is brought lateral. And in this, then we phase third, some rough work. Okay, phase third. What is the phase third? Phase third is the scar maturation and remodeling phase. Okay, in this phase, the last phase of wound healing, this is the last phase of wound healing, which is 4 to 6 weeks after surgery, and fibroblastic activity decrease until, like after surgery. Okay, for 1 to 2 years. As the collagen decreases, the wound becomes stronger and can tolerate increased strength. Treatment in this phase focus on achieving maximum active and passive elbow motion. Okay, and functional strength to enable the independence in self-care activity. Patients are educated and made aware of lifetime precautions and contraindication and the potential complications. Maximize the range of motion of elbow exercises, or continue from phase 1 phase 2. Gentle passive stretching at the end range of motion may be performed in this way. The goal for elbow motion in this mm, type of injury patient is functional pain free range. Okay, and Murray et al. State that the goal of this surgery is to obtain a functional arc of 30 to 100 and 30 degree of flexion, 30 to 130 degree of flexion. Full range of motion is not the goal and is often unachievable. Very important point. The Murray state that 30 to 100 only, not the full range of motion. Okay. When stiffness persists, joint mobilization and aggressive passive motion is strictly forbidden on total elbow prosthesis. When stiffness persists at end range, static progressive splinting is used to provide low load prolonged stretch at the end range. A static progressive elbow flexion splint may be used for limited elbow flexion. A proximal and distal cuff is fabricated with bilateral hinge and bilateral D-ring straps. The D-ring is progressed as gain in flexion are made. The splint is worn at intervals throughout the day, total of 6 hours. Okay, and a series of static elbow extension splints is fabricated to gain the elbow extensions. Then we see some treatment procedure according to the surgery. Okay, triceps sparing. The treatment, if surgery is triceps sparing, the treatment is first week hand and shoulder function increase immediately or as soon as the brachial plexus block has dissipated. At 3-day, postural splint and dressing are removed and replaced with a removable posterior extension splint to allow for gentle active range of motion. Active range of motion exercise for the elbow and forearm are performed 6 times a day for 10 to 15 minutes. Posterior extension splints should be worn between exercise session and at night. In week 2, passive and active range of motion exercise may be initiated to the elbow. Range of motion is progressed as a home program, emphasizing extension and flexion. In week 3, discontinue elbow extension, splinting like during the day if elbow stability is adequate. Week 4, discontinue elbow extension, splint at night. Initial gradual gentle strengthening exercise for the hand and forearm. Light resistance may begin to the elbow. Perform therapy within the patient comfort level, and the patient is advised not to lift more than 1 lb during the first 3 months after surgery, and will observe a 5 lb permanent lifetime lifting restriction for the extremity. Very important point. Then second procedure is the tricep reflecting procedure. If you have a patient with the triceps reflecting procedure, the treatment goal are different, and your treatment is first, hand and shoulder function increase immediately or as soon as the brachial plexus block has dissipated. An anterior or posterior extension splint is applied, and the week 2 is the post-surgical splint is removed, and the staple sutures removed, initial post-operative visit, and active range of motion for flexion, pronation, supination exercises. For the elbow and forearm are performed 6 times a day for 10 to 15 minutes. For gravity assisted extension may be used. Active extension should be avoided for at least 6 weeks. Posterior extension sprint should be worn between exercise session and at night. Range of motion is progressed as home program, emphasizing extension and flexion. Then the week 3, discontinue elbow extension splint during the day if elbow stability is adequate. Initiation of active elbow extension without resistance. Week 4, discontinue elbow extension splint at night. Initial gradual gentle strengthening exercise for the hand and forearm. Light resistance may be begin to the elbow. Perform therapy within the patient's comfort level. The patient is advised not to lift more than 1 lb during the first 3 months, and this is same for the like sparing treatment. Okay, here you see all the treatment procedure and the phases according to phases and according to the surgery. Some complications, we have to always look on the complications. What are the complications? The elbow replacement surgery are widely recognized and can be divided into 3 categories: those do not require surgery, those that require additional surgery, and those that require removal of the implant. These are discussed briefly with an emphasis on their relevance to rehabilitation. The rehabilitation program must be modified accommodate any of the complications described. Motion restriction is common, particularly in patients with significant limitation in the joint motion before surgery. In patient with ankylosis elbow, a capsular release is performed during surgery. Okay, the triceps muscle is common site for adhesion and weakness because of the poor quality of tricep tendon in patients with rheumatoid arthritis. The tricep sparing approach was developed by Berrien and Murray to reduce the complications and elbow for faster rehabilitation. The clinical approach in treatment of adhesion and weakness has been outlined. Clinical studies document consistently better elbow extension strength in elbow arthroplasty by using the triceps sparing approach. This is best approach for the elbow arthroplasty. Significant insufficiency and rupture of the triceps muscle have been reported in 4% of cases. If rupture occurs, the tendon is reattached postoperatively. The healing tendon is protected in posterior elbow immobilization splint at 40 to 60 degree. Okay, and splint is worn continuously for 3 to 4 weeks. The most common complication after total elbow arthroplasty is infection. Risk factor for infection have been outlined by Wolfe et al. Most important is the infection. Okay, and sparing technique is best technique, and the therapist should be reported to the physician immediately. Infection is treated with debridement and intravenous antibiotics. Okay, all this is dislocation, instability have been problem only in the non-constrained prosthesis. So all about the elbow arthroplasty, and next we see in the elbow joint other conditions. And thank you so much for watching. Please like and share and subscribe my videos, and I hope you enjoy the video and you learn lots. Thank you so much.